Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into a really fascinating paradox at the heart of the airline industry. You see, on one hand, it's about to hit this massive financial milestone, but on the other, it's facing some of the biggest challenges in its entire history. So get this, in 2025, for the very first time, the global airline industry is projected to rake in over $1 trillion in revenue. That is a historic, mind-boggling number. It sounds like the industry is just flying higher than ever, right? Well, here's the twist. For every single passenger they fly, airlines are going to make an average net profit of just $7.90. I mean, that's barely enough to buy a sad airport sandwich. So you have to ask the question, how on earth can an industry be making so much money yet be in so much trouble? This is a huge deal, and it affects every single one of us who flies. Okay, let's get into it. Now, the answer isn't simple, but it really starts in one place. A global aerospace supply chain that is, to put it mildly, deeply broken. This is the engine room of the whole industry, and right now, it's just sputtering. So what's really interesting is how you can see this problem playing out. It all begins with the planes themselves. Airlines are desperate for new, more efficient aircraft to meet this crazy demand. But the manufacturers, they just can't build them fast enough. In fact, airlines have a record-smashing backlog of over 17,000 new planes on order. And to put that into perspective, that's almost 12 years of production at the current rate. It is an absolutely unprecedented waiting list. And at the very heart of this backlog is a critical crisis with the engines. The things needed to actually power these new jets. Because without engines, a brand new plane is just a very, very expensive metal tube. And this isn't just about one type of engine. It's really a tale of two different engines. While the CFM LEAP has mostly sorted out its early problems, the Pratt & Whitney GTF engine has been hit with this really serious defect. The result? A full one-third of the planes that use it are just stuck on the ground. That's causing absolute chaos for the airlines that picked them. And on top of the engine mess, you've got this perfect storm of other problems making everything worse. There's a major shortage of skilled workers, getting new planes approved by regulators is taking more than twice as long as it used to, and the entire supply chain is so fragile that even one little hiccup can cause huge delays. Now, let's look at how all this mess directly impacts you. Yet, this is not just a problem for executives crunching numbers in a boardroom somewhere. No, this crisis has a real direct and costly impact on you, the passenger, every single time you go to book a ticket or step onto a plane. The total price tag for this supply chain failure is just staggering. It's estimated to cost airlines over 11 times billion dollars this year alone. And that's a massive expense that, has to come from somewhere. So where does that cost come from? Well, it's driven by a few key things. Airlines are being forced to fly older, thirstier planes, which means billions in extra fuel costs. Of course, those older planes also need a lot more expensive maintenance. And because new planes and engines just aren't available, leasing costs have shot up like crazy. And guess who ends up paying for all these billions in extra costs? We do. They're inevitably passed on to travelers. With fewer new planes to meet the rising demand, the supply of seats gets tighter, which naturally pushes up the price you pay for a ticket. And because those new planes aren't being delivered, chances are you're flying on an older aircraft. The average age of the entire global fleet has now climbed to 15.1 years. That is the oldest it has ever been in modern aviation history. And it's not just today's planes. Even the future is delayed. Take the next generation Boeing 777X. It was supposed to start flying passengers way back in 2020, but after a whole series of engineering problems, engine issues, and software challenges, the first delivery isn't expected until 2027. That's a full 7 years late. So, with the very core of the industry struggling just to deliver on today's promises, where do we even look for solutions? Well, the answer, as it so often is, might just lie in technology and in finally understanding what we as passengers actually want. So let's start with today's traveler. The new generation of digital natives who've grown up with technology right at their fingertips. Well, they have some pretty clear expectations for how their travel experience should feel. According to the latest passenger insights, people just want travel to be as simple and connected as the rest of their digital lives. We want real-time updates on our phones. We want to use biometrics to just breeze through the airport. And, apparently, we're even willing to pay a little extra for things like tracking our bags from start to finish.
Now, looking even further ahead, some people are betting on a completely new kind of flying to just bypass today's problems altogether. Welcome to the world of advanced air mobility, or AAM. And the vision here is pretty cool. Companies like Joby are already working on building these AI-powered air taxi hubs right on top of existing parking garages. The whole idea is you'd use biometrics for a super smooth check-in, fly across the city in a quiet electric aircraft, and then connect directly to a car or a train. Some are even aiming to launch this as early as 2026, which leaves us with a final, really critical question. The industry is betting big on this high-tech, seamless future of biometrics and air taxis. But at the exact same time, it's struggling to solve the fundamental problems of just building and maintaining the planes we need today. So, what you should really take away from all this is the deep, deep tension between innovation and execution. And that tension is what's going to define air travel and your experience of it for the next decade.